Hey,
Hi, Daniel. How are you?
good.
Good. Still waiting for everybody else.
Okay.
Where's Kelly?
We probably should remind her. Sometimes she, yeah.
So how the boys doing?
Good, good, good. Martin's back at school at Pace, and he's still injured, so he won't be cleared until March. Their season got canceled, so the guys are just doing training and workouts with the coaches. Nothing too crazy. But
Uh-huh.
he had them all come back on campus just so that they could continue to stay in shape. And then Terrence has been getting good minutes with the Clippers.
That's
He's
great.
Yeah, he's been playing, I think averaging about 14 minutes per game and 8 points and 7 rebounds, and he's been doing good. He just got his nod, the tap on the shoulder, so he was ready. He was
Wow,
ready.
that's fantastic. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Hey guys, sorry it took me a minute. We were going away this week, and with the snowstorm coming, the girl whose Airbnb we rented was so nice and was like, "Hey, do you guys want to come up early?"
Oh, nice.
So we ended up in a complete chaotic manner, packed up 2 dogs and an infant in like 2 hours yesterday, and drove up to upstate New York.
Oh, wow.
Well, it's gorgeous here, but it's also like it was just great chaos. So I apologize. I meant to send out like an agenda and everything yesterday, and I did not because first time packing up a child, what they have so much stuff. Holy smokes.
Yeah, it's not fun. You really need minivans were
Well,
invented for new families.
you know what? And it's so funny because my parents used to do this shit all the time. So I had to take a chuckle that I'm turning into them. But like we were stressing about all the stuff and like where we were going to sit with the 2 dogs. I mean, our 2 dogs are huge. And all of a sudden I go, let's just take 2 cars. I was like, it's an hour and a half drive. I was like, why are we stressing about this? We can pack everything we want. Cause like, we weren't sure with the storm, like you have to bring food and everything. We're in the middle of nowhere.
Right, right.
So that took about 5 seconds of convincing. And he's like, I'm in.
That's
So
phenomenal.
we are here with 2 cars,
Oh,
but
wow.
plenty of firewood so that we're locked into this house. Yes, we have a very, very happy, doesn't leave my side. But how's everyone's weekend? Was it good?
Yes.
Everyone's in. Danny, are you getting this snowstorm?
Oh my gosh, yeah. It's
My dad just sent me a picture of New Jersey has like a foot and a half of snow already, and it's just starting.
Oh wow.
We
Yeah,
don't have as much up here. I'd say we have about 8 inches, and it's like, but it's dumping.
yeah.
Yeah,
Greg,
well,
are you in Connecticut?
yeah, I'm in New Haven. It started around 3 or 4 this morning lightly. Then they started pounding on around 6. So we have
It
about
started,
maybe 7 or 8 inches now.
it started in New Jersey yesterday at like, they kept saying like, oh yeah, it's starting at night. No, it started at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And like, that's why all of a sudden we were like, we got to get out of here. We left by 4. There was already like 4 or 5 inches on the ground.
Wow,
It was crazy.
that's crazy. Well, it's good to know. It's good to have a winter. Last winter we really didn't have snow. It was sort of
I know. It was funny. The whole reason we wanted to go, we were going to go to Lake Placid, and Tom's like, I don't care where we go. I just want somewhere with snow. Well, we got it.
I love Lake Placid, man. That's such a great place.
It's so great. And honestly, we were going to go, but our friends that we go up with, not that we stay at the same place as them, but we do all of our activities, they got COVID.
Oh, wow.
and so we can't be near them. So we're just up in Saugerties,
That's nice.
right next to Woodstock. Yeah, we're across from that like famous big pink house that Bob Dylan and the band did that recording. It's like across the street. It's like we're in the sticks.
Wow.
There's nothing here. It's great.
That is really cool. It's really wonderful to get
I'm
away.
excited to get the gang together. I'm just gonna go grab a juice. I'll be right back.
Okay.
But feel free to get started.
Hey, John, how are you?
Doing well.
Good.
Getting ready to go dig myself out.
And go skiing, I hope.
I was just skiing on Saturday at Elk Mountain. It was
That's
pretty
the
good,
closest
but I'm
one to
sure
you?
it's better today.
Yeah.
Huh?
How big a drop is that? How many feet?
It's like I don't know, just over 1,000 feet vertical.
It's nice.
Not
That's
that
really
big. I've
manageable.
never been there. And friends, a guy that I play softball with, he and his wife were going up there Saturday, so I went and joined them.
Cool. That's nice. Yeah, I haven't been out once this year. Obviously, there's too much
It was
going on.
pretty
right now.
crowded. It was a sunny day. The snow was good early, but got skied off by afternoon, which is typical, around here.
Yeah, you really have to then just stay on the edges and just ski the edge of the trails. That's all you can do. Man, I missed that. Yeah. Well, Leslie, how you doing?
Hey, good. How are you?
Good, thanks. John, by the way, I got a call from Gibbon this morning. They want us to finally sign off on the SRS and stuff. So I don't know if you went through the most recent one, but we have to take care of that this next day.
That's for the yoga and the trainer.
Yeah. So we have to look that over. And on Friday, Kelly, Dania, and I had a call about, what we're going to do going forward, what we need to do, what are each of our deliverables. And Leslie and Jim came in and we were talking about what we need to do in preparation for the launch that we can start now so that it's all ready to go by then.
Right.
So one of the, obviously of the most important part that I see is we need to have the profile development stuff done. So it also includes the stuff that we need for recruiting. So we can start getting the coaches to give us what stats they need. So also I think everybody should go through the Figma pages and look at those and figure out if there are things that we're missing or things that we have to add, that kind of stuff. So, that's something that you and I have been talking about, John, that we all have to try to dig into.
I mean,
But-
it might be more effective instead of going through the pages it shouldn't be difficult to just come up with like a matrix of here's the sport, here's the data you need, and then we can compare it to what's on the screenshots.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Really, it's just a few shots that are going to have those stats needed for them.
We should be able to provide to the developers, more or less a spreadsheet. And I mean, I think the easiest thing would be, I don't know, maybe you could transpose it either way, but your columns are going to be the measurement or the stat, and your rows are going to be the sports. And it's just check boxes, like a big matrix, because some stats you use for multiple sports, right? So I picture just a grid where your columns, and either your columns or your rows are the sports, and the other is the measurement and statistics, or whatever it is that you're capturing.
Yeah, we can
And
certainly
then
format it that way.
checkboxes. And I think that if we give that to the developers, then it's incumbent on them to build the screens to support that.
Okay.
For us to look at the screens and try to see, well, what do they have? What's missing? That's convoluted. I think if we do it as a spreadsheet, it's documented. We have it for future reference. It can be modified and updated later, and it gives them something in writing to reference back to.
Yeah, I think John, on that point, I think it's more important for us to have a dashboard for us administrators so that we can load the specific stats and then work out ranges with the coaches. What's the range for that 40-yard dash? What's the range for, strength? And
I think John's just saying, just to get it kind of built, that's probably the easiest way they can digest the information, right? And then we will have the ability to customize it.
yeah, but right, we need to be able to start.
It's easy for the programmer.
Yes, well, yeah, they need to know how to start, and to have a few sports under their belts would be great. But we need to have the ability to have a dashboard and be able to take it to the 20th sport and the 30th sport and the 40th sport as we're building those recruiting modules for each one of those sports. And that has to be done by us. We can't just keep going to the developers and say, hey, we got another sport we got to add.
Oh, no, I don't think John's saying that. I think John's saying that just to get them started, that they can at least see what we're talking about, and then they can kind of pass the control over.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's really just one screen that the user is going to see. So the rest of this stuff is more a matter of, the community and the content and the blogs and the news, all the other stuff that has to be added. So the functional stuff is.
I don't imagine that the dashboard is going to be anything more where, you pick the sport that you want to add the statistics for.
Yeah.
And then you have a big bunch of check boxes and say, these are the things that go with it.
Right.
And then when it would automatically populate into those profile screens or something.
Exactly. Yeah. So at least we know what the coach is asking for. So the athletes have an idea of what they have to fill in and what stats they're looking for. And that's, obviously sport specific and then position specific. So that's where it gets a little more tricky, is that, you're asking a quarterback different questions from the receiver or the lineman. So we have to figure out how to put those in that matrix, sort of 3D in that way.
Well, I would think that you would have every metric correspond to that sport, and just some that correspond to that sport aren't going to apply for certain positions.
Right.
I'm not clear on how you're going to say, okay, well, if you play football and you're a quarterback, these are the ones that apply, because
Well,
then
I
you get
think
into
that's why
things,
we're reaching out to these experts, because we're asking people, what are they looking for? And then we'll build it from that so that we're not guessing.
And I just think about basketball. If 3-point shooting is part of the measurement that we're looking for, and a player doesn't fill out the 3-point shooting percentage, then I know probably they're not a guard. Like, I think coaches can, based on the information in the metrics, I think coaches can figure out what position people belong into. And, post player is not going to probably put a 3-point shooting percentage. So some might, because they're transitioning to be 3-point shooters now, but you know what I mean? I think coaches can kind of figure out what position people belong in based on what information they provide. And I think the range for basketball, I don't think it's necessary to have a range. I think coaches can figure out, if your shooting percentages from the 3-point line is, 48%, then the coach knows that you're a good 3-point shooter. If it's 13%, then the coach knows you're not. So I don't think for basketball, the ranges are necessary. I think just that hard number would tell a lot to a coach who's like to Kelly's point, who is has that eye for knowing what's best for their positions.
Yeah, and John, we should have backed it up and given a little bit more context. We, when we sat on Friday, we devised a plan to break out by sport. So we each have a couple different sports that we're in charge of. And we're approaching our networks, these hypothetical recruiting experts, and asking them what they're looking for, so that we're not shooting in the dark with these stats that we're asking for. We're asking D1 top tier coaches and pro scouts what they're looking for. So we're not just making this stuff up. So I think that before we dwell and spend too much time on this, it's probably best for us to get our answers in and see what we're working with and then try and fit it in to make it work. So before we kind of get too hung up, like it might really clear itself up based on how these guys answer these questions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's our
and-
plan. That's our plan of attack.
the Matrix is
Yeah,
a great
I mean,
idea.
that sounds like it's the
Yeah.
most effective way to do it. My point is more that for Greg, I think instead of us spending time looking at the screens that are built and figuring out what's there, what's missing, is we develop this spreadsheet, we provide it to the developers, we let them build it. I would also caution everyone on expectations from development. And I don't know that the development team can get granular enough into position related metrics.
Right.
I think pushing them to do the metrics on a sport by sport basis is going to be significant enough given our timeline. Anything else beyond that would have to probably be pushed to another phase.
Mhm.
I just envision a lot of complications if you start to say, well, I'm playing basketball, I'm a guard, so what metrics are important for that versus, a forward or whatever. And then you have different kinds of forwards. And if you
I
look
think
at,
Danny made a good point, though. The coaches are going to be able to tell based on the facts what position you play. So I think that we'll
Right.
figure out how to do this. And if we have to simplify, we'll simplify. But I feel like let's not put the cart before the horse. We don't have these answers in yet. Let's see what we get back, and then if we have to simplify, we will.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's kind of like I'm sure I don't know much about football, but like I'm sure that like a quarterback, they want to know what these players like. They probably do sprints. They time them to see how fast. Like a running back probably has to do like a 100-meter sprint to see how fast they are, right? Because that's part of their ability is their speed. They look like a runner. If you have I was a big runner. Like if you look at track and field, they're going to say what are your times in X, Y, and Z because they're going to be long distance or going to be short distance. You're not going to be doing 1,600 meters if you're a 400-meter runner, right? So you don't have to put every sport down, but when you put it down, they're going to see long distance sprinter, because it's there. So if it's blank, right, that means that's not their skill set. So I think it's just more about having the structure of it, and that's it. I mean, I don't know who's doing football. That seems like a big one to get to. Do we have
Yeah,
anyone?
I got football.
Oh, you do? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and I reached out to a football coach, and he's getting me all that
How
info.
about track? I think track. I mean, track's like one of those sports that always gets overlooked. But maybe.
Why don't you handle track?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of any track. I can call blindly. I don't know of any track. Division one.
I know no one.
Yeah, I mean, I mean,
Slowest person in America.
I can do it based on my experience, but it's just a matter of time what they're running, what their what their times are.
All right, yeah,
That's
that's a good one. It's a lot of people in track, and just a bunch of different venues. So yeah, well, let's see if we can. It's a call that's been long overdue for me. I have to get in touch with the USATF and start talking to them. So let me approach those guys too. So let's try to find some track coaches and take it.
One of the I just was reading the head a former Penn football player became the head coach of like the Cleveland. What team is that? Does anybody know?
Browns.
Yeah, he just became. He's like in his 30s. He became the head coach of.
That organization is such a joke.
Is it Cleveland?
Yeah.
I have to Google it, but he became the head coach. He's like in his late 30s, and he was a coach since right out of college.
Well, go for it.
Yeah, but I don't know anyone in football. I have no context, but yeah.
Well, I think to keep us all on track and make sure that we're kind of following through with all of our deliverables, why don't we have our respected areas? So like Greg, you can reach out to that guy. Like, why don't we by our next Monday's call, at least have developed spreadsheets and stuff like that from the sports that we're responsible for, so that at least we're moving us forward. And
As
by
much
all
as
means,
possible.
if anybody wants to throw me their spreadsheet ahead of time to take a look at it, I'm happy to edit and help out. And if you're struggling with how to build it, I'm happy to help out. Just want to give the
Kind of
heads
do
up
like
that so far the
stat
Wi-Fi up here is
column.
pretty good, but we'll see.
Like John said, the stat in the column, and then the sport in the row, right? So you're gonna put the
Yeah, so the sports will go this way in a row, and then stats across for
Yeah.
each one. And again, like once you take a look at it, I think it'll become clear how best to format it.
All right.
I'm kind of thinking if you do it opposite, it's better because we have far less sports. than
Okay,
do
so you want
stats.
sports in the columns.
I think that's going to be a little more effective.
So,
right now.
okay, so if that's the way to do it, so sports in the columns, and then going vertically in the rows, start doing the stats, and then I think maybe color in everything that's appropriate, like just block it out. So like bench press, squat, like clean, like all that kind of stuff is going to be for every sport, I think.
Well, those are the
Even
easy ones. That's literally the second page of the profile development pages, and the third we get into the sport specific things, and that's really where we have to start working on each sport and what the stats are. I don't see why we need one central spreadsheet for all the sports and all the stats. We should just say tennis. Here are the stats. These are the things we're looking for, and just if it's going to be an Excel spreadsheet, just have them down at the bottom. Just have as tabs, have baseball, basketball, football, hockey, tennis. There's no reason to have one big spreadsheet. So it makes
But I
more
think
sense
that
to-
How about when we don't have access?
I think to John's point, that was just for the developers, right, John? I
Yeah.
thought
Is that too overwhelming, John?
Yeah. I think it's better if it's all consolidated because the stats, are valuable for multiple sports. Like how tall you are.
Yeah, those are the general stats, John. Those are the physical ones, and the general performance ones like speed and height, reach, and that kind of stuff. Those are all. Everyone should be answering those questions. But I'm getting down to the actual stats of performance, like three point shots, that kind of stuff. We know that's.
Yeah, I mean, if you
How about
do-
to simplify
if you do
this?
each-
Because I just
if
think
you
it's
do
easier
each
if one
sport-
person builds the spreadsheet. How about like Dania's going to get information back from her college guys, her basketball guys, and it's going to be. I'm assuming they're going to send you an email being like, "This is the list of stuff we're looking for."
for each
Well,
position, yeah.
I'm using my recruiting questionnaires that I use over the years. So I have basketball, I'm getting football and volleyball.
Yeah,
for
So
coaches.
why don't we do this?
I'm doing
Everyone just email me what you get back, and I will build a spreadsheet. That's one spreadsheet that's consolidated. And John, you can give me feedback on it. I think that's just easier for everybody so that we're not reformatting 4 different things. So once you guys get your information, just send it to me. I'll build the spreadsheet and then I'll flip it to John.
Perfect.
Okay.
That way it saves everyone a little bit of time.
So we hit those sports. Is there anything, what about like minor sports like fencing? We're gonna these things are gonna fall away. We're gonna hit the top whatever 10 sports we have access to, or how are you gonna address like the lower? Not I don't want to say lower tier, but like less. I don't
Well,
know.
I think
main
We
there
street.
call them
are-
lower profile. It's hard to call them lower tier because
I didn't. That was the. How about these Olympians? Are they like on board? We've got a couple people that you using as like ambassadors. Maybe they could in their sport. Maybe they could kind of.
well, that's the point. Each one of the governing bodies knows what stats they need to. They're trying to accumulate for their players. What's how they get the elite players to bubble up is by answering those questions: how good they are, how fast they are, and then their sport-specific stats. And that's what we really care about. Which is why I'm going to go to the USATF and ask them what stats they need done for that. And every coach knows that. Dania has the same. That's for basketball, baseball, football, all the main sports. They have stats for different positions. As
Yeah, but I'm
opposed
saying
to
like there's
general
so many
stats.
other sports, like smaller sports. Like how do we want to address those? Like women.
Well, I think that
basketball.
we
The
have to
smaller
have
sports
it.
too. Rowing, you have ergs, right? So
Yeah,
every
rowing is
sport has-
but I'm just saying like sports that we're not like assigning people to be in charge of. Like I've got 3, Danny's got 3, Kelly's got 3. I mean, but there's other ones we're missing. I'm just saying, do you want to address that, or because you're going to be missing a lot of sports, or is that like something you want to?
Well, I think we have to prioritize where our networks are, and we can always add on. But I think that we kind of all grab the sports we grabbed because we know people, and I think that we have time. We're going to have another phase of this, so I think we have time to kind of come up with that next level plan.
Yeah.
But I think we don't want to hold up what we're doing because we don't know somebody in the fencing world.
Right. Well, again, the point is that we're going to have these original stats to start off with, but we have to immediately be ready to add
Yeah.
sports as they come in, because they're going to come in sort of quickly once we get the full funding and get up and running on that. We're going to be adding sports really quickly when we start hiring those athletes that we're going to get from the ACES program to curate those sports. So, there are 2 parts of there are a lot of parts of the requirements for the ambassadors. One is to curate the stuff that the other athletes in that sport see, but then they have to turn around. They have to actually be our face, one of the faces that the governing bodies see. So USA Fencing is going to see a fencer talking to them saying, hey, you know, we're working with UB Sports. This is what we need from them. Can you help me figure out what the stats are that we need when we ask the next, you know, when we find the next fencer, what are their stats going to be? You know, same thing with rowing and every other sport, which is why I said we're going to need a dashboard as opposed to just stats thrown into a spreadsheet. It's going to be a dashboard that we can internally add another sport to as we go along. And so, that's what we have to do there. But yes, let's start off with like the big sports, get the top 10, 15 sports nailed, and then it can grow from there.
Good plan.
I agree. All right, so that's that. Funding goes, we are taking on another investment banker starting in the next day or so. They say they have people lined up. We need funding. Until we get to over $2 million, we're going to be looking for funding. So we all have to be on the lookout for people who want to invest. We had great news last week. I don't know if any of you didn't hear, but we won a $110,000 grant from Amazon. So that really is going to take care of all the web costs for, I think, probably a year and a half.
That's awesome.
So that's going to help a lot. But the important now is to get the development and to get all these people in. That's our job now. It took one thing off our plate that we have to worry about.
It's great. It's really exciting.
That is. That was a good one. So anyone else have anything?
No, I think we have our marching orders.
Yeah, good. Let's go for it.
I have a couple comments. I have a couple comments that aren't related to what we're talking about now. Well, one is, Greg, you and I needed to follow up to kind of talk about recruiters and whether or not we wanted them to be able to have their own app for searching, or if that's going to be built into the regular website. So we should all kind of give some thought as to how are the recruiters going to actually do their searching. Frankly, because of the volume of data, and that once I do my searches, I'm going to want to download that information so I have it like in a spreadsheet or some other kind of document. I don't see recruiters doing this for the most part on a phone or tablet. I see it being done on a desktop computer.
Yeah, on a spreadsheet, sure.
So I think that the website should have a specific section for recruiters to do the detailed searching. But that's a thought, that's something that we should all give some thought to as to how are recruiters going to actually do the searches. Do we want it available to them on the phone in an app that's separate from the regular app? Do we want it just on a desktop search, et cetera? A couple marketing things. Kelly and Greg, we talked about this previously, but we're going to initially have some targeted messaging to get people to join the site. And we talked about deep linking so that when you put a link in, you can get directly to a page within the app on your phone. So we need to kind of identify, what part of the, what's our initial marketing plan for the first few months? What pages are we going to drive people to so that we can have those set up by the developers for deep linking? The other thing that we need to start thinking about is every page on the site will carry some metadata, kind of a description of what the page is about. So if you do a search in Google and you get your search results, that little blurb that shows up under the title of the page comes from this description. It's not something that's displayed on the page when you visit it, but it's used more or less by search engines as to what that page is about and what it's for. So we should start thinking about what descriptions are we going to have for our pages. If you're on somebody's profile page, if you go to a sport page, if you're in the UB Universe page, if you're on your calendar page, those kind of things. So we have to start thinking about what words do we want to show people when they search Google and they come across these pages. And then two other things which are more high level for the site is, Greg, you and I need to touch base on this specifically, but what trademarks do we have and what service marks do we have, if any? And are there other trademarks and service marks that we need to apply for before our launch? Because we'll want to make sure that we have the correct marks built into the site next to our logo or our main homepage title. I'm presuming the term UB Sports is a trademarked word. If it's not, it should be, et cetera. So we should come, Greg, if you can at least, I don't know, in the next day or two, send me a list of what trademarks and service marks do we have. I can kind of figure out how to pass it off to the developers. And then the final thing is we need to, and I know that you have these things now, Greg, but we probably need to go through and revise them. And that's the privacy policy for the site and the terms and conditions for the use of the site. I haven't really read the current ones at this point, so I don't know if they just apply as is to the new site. I don't know if our privacy policy incorporates GDPR or the European privacy issues, but it takes a while for those things to be written and kind of settled because they have to go through a lawyer to review them, et cetera. So we're not going to be able to come up a week before launch and say, okay, let's finalize our privacy policy. So we probably need to get moving on those things and having those things drafted and approved by whatever legal, resources you have, Greg.
All right.
So those are the comments I have at this point that we need to start thinking of going forward over the next week or two.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Okay, that's cool. Now, as far as the tag, go back to the tags and the metadata. What can we do individually to help that?
Well, for the most part, like all of your sport pages are probably going to have the same kind of description. The only thing that's different is the sport. So we probably only need to come up with like one description of what that page is. The most important one is for the homepage. Or in addition to the homepage, the main page of any primary section, like UB Universe and My World, like those pages should have descriptions. If it's a page that you cannot see unless you're logged in, it doesn't need a description because a search engine can't get to it because a search engine doesn't log into the site. So it's only pages that are publicly accessible that need a description. So for example, if you think of, okay, we have all these sport pages, the groups for the sports, we only really need one description, which we can then tweak that instead of saying, here's my description for basketball, it'll say the same thing except for baseball, for hockey, for football, for track, for tennis, whatever.
John,
So
can you give an example of what that word would be? What that description would be? What just as one? Give me one so I could start to think about some other.
Well, for example, the homepage might say, UB Sports is the ultimate worldwide destination and social network for athletes and trainers and recruiters across the globe. So that might be a description for the homepage. I would leave it up to the more marketing talented people to come up with exactly what they want. But, where it becomes visible is not when you visit the site. It's visible when I do a search for, if I'm searching for something sport related, and UB Sports pops up in the results, it's what you see as the blurb there.
Oh,
That's
okay.
what you're going to see. That's what the description is used for.
Okay.
And it,
So
like,
we don't need,
click on it. That's why it's important, because it's like you're going to be Googling things. And if we write something like amazing, somebody might click on it that wouldn't necessarily.
Right. Okay. So it's more of a sentence description, not the word search. It's more of a,
yeah, it could be one or two sentences. I know that there is some sort of a limit on characters, maybe 256 characters or 512 characters. I'm not real sure, but a sentence or two.
got it.
Yeah,
But
I
it's
think
what
it's
people are going to
255.
see when they search Google or other search engines. That's what's going to show up.
Right.
If you post a link or share the homepage, for example, on Facebook, it's also going to be that description that you see in Facebook with that post. So that's how it gets used.
Got it.
And I don't think, if we have 100 sports, I don't think we have to write up 100 different descriptions. You basically write up one description, but you change the word for the sport. That kind of thing. That's what it's for. Hopefully that answers your question.
So if you do a Google search of UB Sports, it's going to pop up UB Sports' main domain, but then it's also going to have contact us, about us, that kind of stuff. Those are really scraped off of the pages themselves. So but that gives you an idea of what we're looking for each one of those things. So yeah, you can do it. Just do that when you get a chance, and you'll see how it works. But yeah, I think on the site right now, there's for each one of the pages, sport portals, there's actually a paragraph that you write that says something about the sport, what it does and who plays it and that kind of stuff. So that's something like that can easily be used as the meta. But we should have something for each one of those sports, and that would be something that I would like to see our the ambassador have a part of when we start up a sport. To have the ambassador, we bring on the Olympic athlete or the governing body to give us some guidance as to what are the key words that we should be popping up there. So yeah, that's definitely good. That's a good one, John. As far as the trademarks and copyrights and also patents, we can't start doing a patent on the workflow or anything right now until the site gets launched, the new site gets launched, and we start using those processes, whatever we are saying are UI, UX, or process patents. We have to really have them working and up before we can say this is when it started.
Yeah, I mean, I'm less concerned about patents. I'm more concerned about trademarks and service marks, because there's a visual representation that you want on the site for things that are trademarked or are a service mark.
Okay, sure. I think that we're getting more solid about the UB and what that's supposed to look like and how we're going to keep that for a while. I spoke with somebody else who tried to jiggle around with the marks, and it looks pretty much the same. They just, in fact, I'll screen share so you can see it. Hold on.
Don't forget that Danya's got a guy if you're not happy with this person's work.
Yeah. Okay, so there's all they did is really squish the UB a little tighter together, and the sports they're going to squish so that you look at the third one down, the S falls in the same line as the bottom of the B or the side of the B. So that'll be a little more tightened. They said they like the letter U and then belong, so you keep it the UB Sports on the circle. But they also said the UB itself should start showing up as like the swish for Nike. So, UB or the UB Sports, we have to decide on if we want the UB Sports or just the UB to start showing up in places. So if we can give that a thought.
My experience of logos and brand building and all that stuff, like that's like a step, you have to get there. like Nike's original logo was the swoosh with Nike underneath it. Like they built that for years and then they pulled the Nike off. So I think we just have to be cognizant of, you know, letting the logo develop. And I would suggest, in my experience, keeping the sports on it for at least a year or two.
Yes, I agree.
Maybe like longer, yeah.
Yeah. Then we could drop it like we did, like Nike did. with the
Yeah,
Nike.
drop it like it's hot.
Yeah, that's the theory. Also, Bill, you'll appreciate the top one that looks sort of like NBC Sports that says movie sports.
Yes, it did look familiar.
Yeah, it should. So anyway, these are the three looks that we have right now. We're working on color schemes. I think we're going to go with sort of like an orangey red, and then the sports being, or the other color being a light blue. So we have those. I don't think we're going to go with the royal blue that's on there now, which, you know, just trying to get a little more diversity.
Carolina blue.
Like uniqueness. Sorry? Carolina, right? I know.
Carolina blue.
Yeah,
Carolina blue would look sick.
that's what I'm thinking too. We can't use the same one because I think it's patented, that blue.
You know, you have to be careful when you describe colors like that. I was on a softball team once, and the coach of the team had some guy order our jerseys, and he said, yeah, we want cardinal red. Well, it depends. If you're the St. Louis Cardinals, you get a bright red, or if you're the Arizona Cardinals, you get a maroon
Better be
red,
careful.
you know, so be careful with that Carolina blue terminology.
It's a patented color. Like it's a Pantone.
Well, that's it. And we have to have a Pantone that's just for us. And I don't think we can patent it because we're going to pick a Pantone color that they already have.
No,
But at least we can use that as like our mark.
yeah, we know it's 231 or whatever. Like we don't have to worry about that. We're using they've already patented. We're using their patent.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, so these are what we have so far. If you guys, Dane, if you want to shoot this past your friend and see what they say, if they have any cool ideas. But I think right now this is what we're going to roll with. And of course it can change over time, but I think that, you know, this is where it is right now. A lot of times site will start up using something, and then they'll do, once they get to some kind of critical mass, they'll do a logo search and go to their members and offer like $500 for someone to come up with a better logo. If it gets
That's
used.
how the Hartford Whalers got their logo. It was
Exactly.
a newspaper contest. It's like the best logo in sports, and it was a newspaper contest back in the day.
So when I go to my guy, am I asking him for color arrangements or actual logo arrangements as well? Or are we going, you know what I mean? Are we going with this and we're talking about colors?
Good question.
Or
I
we
suggest
wanna-
both. You know, give them carte blanche. What do they think?
Okay.
You know, explain what the site
Okay.
is. Explain that we're dealing with both the hardcore American sports and all the way down to gymnastics and yoga and, you know, other more creative sports. So see if they can find something in between. Might also, we were talking last week, guys, that we might want a different color scheme for different like wellness initiatives rather than sports. But we decided that we're going to stay with one set of colors right now and possibly adjust that later on as we get well known. So that's what our thought process
Greg,
was
can you
there.
send this to me?
Exactly, I'm going to send it to
Can you send
I'll
this to
send it
me?
to everybody, yeah. Yeah, as soon as I get off, I'll send it
Okay.
to you. And that's like, I think that's all we have. Anyone else have some
Do
issues?
You want to talk about the manufacturers and the advertisers like we talked about on Friday?
Yeah, good idea. As we expand, one of the things we need to do is start building a spreadsheet, sort of like either on HubSpot or in Salesforce. I'm making that decision the next day. If we're going to have the contact list for all our contacts in one place on one of the other of those. And contacts would be advertisers on one side, manufacturers on the other, and contacts for organizations, for people in organizations that have members that they can load their group information onto UB Sports use the site actually as organizations fully functioning. So we need us to start building a central list of those people. So I'm going to take a shot at it and begin it today over the next few hours. And we'll make that decision about HubSpot or Salesforce. I understand Salesforce has something that basically does everything we just discussed for free. And that's usually it's either Salesforce or MailChimp or this other company's HubSpot. HubSpot, their CRM is all free. So we'll look at those as well. So that's my task for the rest of the day. So if you guys can start, when you get the, I'll send out the.
When you say free, Greg, what are we giving up to get free?
They just want people on, I don't know what they actually require us to give up. It's just that it's the beginner service. It doesn't include the communities, doesn't include the outreaches that would have to happen, all the other stuff that they would want to charge for. But as far as having the community, it's straightforward. And they don't charge just to have.
I think that if we are planning on working with professional sports teams, they pretty much all use Salesforce to my knowledge. I can certainly check in. So I think from an ease of operation and making us look professional, like when we go to the New York Rangers, it might be nice that we can seamlessly integrate Salesforce because that's what they use. So just throwing it out there that I'm pretty sure most professional sports teams use Salesforce.
Yeah.
Because of the ticketing side.
Good point. Yeah, that was where I was leaning on. And just so happens the guy I play squash with on Friday happens to work for Salesforce, so he's giving me inside there. So there you go. I think it's anything else?
I think we're good. I think Greg, Dania, and I were going to stay on, right?
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you very much. I'll talk to you very soon. Expect to do this next Monday as well.
Sounds good. Bye, guys. So nice to
everybody.
see you.
Talk to you later.
Later.
Take care. Nice seeing everybody.
Thanks, Bill.
Bye, Bill.
Bye.
He's so cute.
Okay, hold
Jack,
on.
Jack.
Oh my gosh. Mr. Man just woke up. He's
He's getting so big.
he's so cute. You know what? I wasn't really sure. We haven't left the house. So I wasn't really sure how he was going to adjust to like a new setup.
Right.
And he was pretty good. So, you know, we packed a pack and play. We didn't have his like fancy vibrating bassinet. Kid didn't care. Kid sleeps anywhere. Yeah, you're a champ of a man. Yeah, you laughing. Awesome. So excited to get the gang together. I think Dania and I just wanted to touch base, roles, job descriptions, and stuff like that, specifically for her.
Yeah, Dania and I actually talked at 9:30 this morning.
Oh, so you guys are good. So we don't really need to hang.
Well, that's good. I think also I'd like us to, as the core people, we should be talking anyway. I would like to see how we look on Wednesday after 9:30 is the call with the developers. So if you guys want to be on, feel free. It's really just going to be, you know, getting down to text and that kind of stuff. And John and I have a deliverable to get to them in the next day. So we're going to be doing that. And then Wednesday's that. I was thinking maybe noon on Wednesday, we could have a chat and start, you know, going through all the stuff that we collect over the next few days.
That sounds great. So noon on Wednesday?
Let me just check my calendar before I say that.
Third.
Um,
Wednesday at 9:30 and Wednesday at noon.
9:30 is going to be the developer call.
Right. Okay.
It's
And-
certainly, yeah, it's interesting. Like, it's interesting just to listen to.
Yeah.
Like, we don't need to participate in it.
Right. Right.
Because we
No,
don't have too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah.
But it is, I gotta say, like, I was on it, I think last week I listened in, and it's like, first of all, it's so fascinating, but it's interesting to see John work those guys too. So it is definitely helpful.
Okay.
Yeah, he really is a denizen. He really is a web denizen. He knows this stuff so well. It's fantastic.
Well, I think you need somebody who does, because we certainly, like, I don't speak that language.
Absolutely.
Of course, I just put this in for midnight instead of noon.
Okay, so I'm good noon on Wednesday.
Me too.
Okay, good. Danny, you good for noon?
Yes.
All right. Let's do that. I'll send out an invite for us three to be on it.
Okay.
And I'm excited to keep the conversation going. This is great. I'm glad that we're getting consistent with this.
Yes,
Yeah,
for
definitely.
sure.
Okay, also, yeah, that's where
Well-
right now. I've got some stuff to do for the USOC in the next couple of minutes. And then we'll get that stuff out to you for the logos. And let's meet up on Wednesday. I'll be working, straight through. So if you have any questions, give me a shot.
Okay.
Awesome.
sounds
Sounds
good.
good. Take care, guys. Good luck in this.
Thanks, guys. Talk to you later. Thank you.
Be safe.
Thanks.
Don't drive.
Bye-bye.
Bye.